Hello everyone, and welcome to the Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Naruto had the power of devils, Hunter and Devic Dragon. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Chapter 1. Hello friends, I have come again with new awesome story. This story consists of drama, action, love, romance and some heartbreak. In this story Naruto is strong, very strong, as he was ranked 10th in the list for some time in the top 10 Lee. Saint is different, some may like it and some didn't. Enjoy the story. Summary. He lost his family to devils, which were after him for his power, but he was saved by his family friends. They took him with them and raised a strong fighter who will do anything to protect them. But one day his past returned, so to avenge his family he took off, but he was opposed by friends. Ignoring them he leave them. But they followed him to protect him, and then tragedy happened. He lost a friend, a brother in all but blood. In his dying breath he vowed to never live to avenge and leave his second family to find meaning in life. Then he ran into beautiful women who captured his heart. They become friends, but before he could tell her about his feelings she left him for someone else. But then he understands he is Hunter, a killer who kills people, so he took the mask again and came back in action to show the world that Crimson Death Flash is back. Story start. Rain. It's quite a pleasant phenomenon. Sometime it makes you happy and joyful. Other time, it personifies the pain of loneliness, the pain of betrayal. This pain belonged to one Naruto Uzumaki, a man of honor who possessed a will stronger than steel, that now lay broken. He has blonde, spiky hair and ocean blue eyes that shone with the innocence of a child. Right now, those eyes of innocence looked shattered and dead. He had no idea what to do. He felt so lonely, so betrayed from the events that occurred last month. He never something so horrible, so two-faced, so thoughtless would ever happen to him. In the confusing haze that shrouded his mind, he called his best friend Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke, what's up, buddy? How'd your first date go? Sasuke asked. He had black eyes and spiky black hair with a blue tint. His hair hung over his face as bangs. He waited a little bit for a response, but when Naruto didn't immediately reply, Sasuke felt disconcerted. Sasuke called Naruto's name into the phone over and over with increasing urgency. Finally, when he sighed and moved to hang up the phone, he heard Naruto's voice again. This time, however, he could practically feel the sadness in it. Sasuke, don't I deserve any love? At that point, Sasuke knew that something had gone horribly wrong. He had known Naruto since their childhood years. Their mothers were best friends before Naruto's family perished 12 years ago. The poor child had issues trusting anyone but Sasuke after the funeral happened, but in recent weeks, he had shown signs of improvement. Naruto, where are you? Sasuke thought Naruto would reply, but heard a crash, followed by a scream. The line cut off. Naruto, 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 reply, damn it. Sasuke grabbed his jacket and moved to the door. Mother, I'm going to Naruto's place. Before Sasuke's mother, Makoto Uchiha, could reply, she heard the door close. She sighed tiredly. She was a fair-skinned woman with long, straight black hair with bangs hanging on either side of her face to roughly frame her cheeks and black eyes. I'm losing my handle on that boy. Her thoughts turned to Naruto. Naruto admired her as an aunt and she had called him son a few times, which Naruto didn't mind at all. Naruto, what has happened to you that made Sasuke ran out of the house in such a hurry? Wherever you are, I hope you're okay. As Sasuke ran towards the place of Naruto's date, he called Naruto's cell again, to no avail. That didn't stop the Uchiha as he kept trying again and again, but when he reached the place, which was really near to Issei's home, he saw Naruto's phone lying there. Well, that explained why Naruto wouldn't answer his calls. But he couldn't see said boy anywhere. Plus, it had started to rain hard, so if Naruto had left the place of his date, where could he have gone to? He decided to look for him, calling his name and checking out different stores. About half an hour later, Sasuke heard someone singing a song. Recognizing the voice, he followed it. Soon he found a shelter of homeless people, sitting by fires, eating some bread and soup, cuddling with their families, or sleeping by themselves. After following the voice through the crowd, he found his best friend singing a lullaby for a small child. Their parents sat there, watching their child sleeping soundly in Naruto's arms. After finishing his lullaby, Naruto placed the child on a sleeping mat. The child's parents look at him with teary eyes and bow their heads. "Thank you so much for saving our child. We are in your debt, young man." The mother spoke. Naruto protested this gesture. "Please, stop this. I am way younger than you, so please don't bow to me. To be honest, I don't like seeing someone bow to me. But you save our child from a horrible accident. It's only right to thank the savior properly," the father insisted. "I know, but still I don't like it. You are older than me and I feel awkward when someone older than me bows to me." "Well then, how can we thank you? I did what anyone with a kind heart would do. Just help someone in need. That would be more than enough to thank me. This child, he's more mature than the average adult. I'm sorry, I'd like to help more if your little bundle wakes up, but I have to go. You could at least wait for the rain to slow down. I'll be fine. My best friend's probably worried sick about me, so I have to head home quickly," Naruto said as he reached into his pocket for his phone, only to find it missing. "Oh man, Sasuke's gonna kill me." "No, I won't kill you. I'll just kick your ass," Sasuke said as he walked in front of Naruto. "Believe me, it'll be unlike any other ass kicking you've ever received, so I'd start praying." "Oh yeah, one more thing." Naruto knew that he'd get it good from Sasuke when they got back, but what else could he say to make it worse? "Mom wants to talk to you as well." "Well, you can't hurt me if you can't catch me," Naruto cried as he immediately left the shelter and tore off down the streets. Sasuke scoffed with a relieved smile and ran after him. How strange, the couple thought. Naruto sprinted down the streets and put as much power into his legs as he could. However, no matter how fast he ran, Sasuke caught up in a matter of minutes. He jumped, grabbed him by the back of his street, placed a foot against the small of his back, and they both fell. Naruto just lay there, staring blankly at the rainy sky. Sasuke noticed this and so he grabbed Naruto by his collar and forced him to stand. "Look, I don't know what happened between you and her on the date, but don't worry, you will find the one for you, and she'll be a million times better than the girl you just dated, but until then get it together, you idiot." Naruto stared at Sasuke for a few seconds then nodded. He gestured Sasuke to let him and he did. "What did that woman say to you on your date that's caused you so much pain?" "Nothing. Nothing." "What do you mean, nothing?" "She couldn't say anything because she wasn't there. She stood me up, Sasuke. She never ing came." Sasuke just stood there, confused and annoyed. "If your date stood you up, no one could blame you for feeling down, but Naruto hasn't reacted like this in a long time. Naruto, tell me everything. Every detail, from start to when I found you in the shelter." Flashback. Naruto walked out of the dojo of his school's kickboxing club, his favorite club there. Naruto found himself the topic of admiration among most teachers. Naruto liked to take it easy most of the time, but whenever an important issue arose, he would do his best to solve it. After all, his nature demanded he does his best to help others. Recently, however, things have grown complicated. 2 weeks ago, Ryusuke, a classmate and the president of the Occult Research Club, had just recruited Issei Hyodo, the biggest pervert in the school. Ryusuke struck Naruto as beautiful. Indeed, she a beautiful young woman with white skin, blue eyes and a buxom figure. She also had long beautiful crimson hair that reached down to her thighs, with a single hair strand sticking out from the top. Her hair also had loose bangs covering her forehead and side bangs framing her face. As for Issei, Naruto didn't mind Issei that much, but Issei seemed to hate Naruto's guts, simply because a lot of girls found him attractive, in more ways than one. Issei didn't really strike Naruto as anything but ordinary, considering he was of average height with short brown hair and light brown eyes. Naruto walked towards the room of the occult club. No one, other than him, had permission to enter the room unless they belonged to the club. As Naruto entered the room, he saw Issei drooling around a smiling Ryusuke and Akano Himehime, another classmate. Like Ryusuke, Akano was a beautiful young woman with a voluptuous figure around the same age as Ryusuke with very long black hair and violet eyes. She usually had her hair in a long ponytail that reached all the way down to her legs with 2 strands sticking out from the top and sloping backwards, with an orange ribbon keeping it in place. He also saw Kaneko Tuju, a freshman, eating her sweets at a desk, and Yuto Kiba, a sophomore, just sat at a table, talking with Asuya Argento, another sophomore. As Naruto entered Kaneko, Asia and Kiba noticed him and raised their hands in greeting. Nothing much could be said about Kiba's appearance, aside from him being a handsome young man with short blonde hair, gray eyes and a mole under his left eye. Kaneko was a petite girl with white hair and hazel eyes. The front of her hair had 2 long bangs going past her shoulders and several loose bangs hanging over her forehead, while the back has a short bob cut. She also wore a black cat-shaped hair clip on both sides of her hair. As for Asia, she was a pretty young girl with long blonde hair and green eyes. Her hair flows all the way down to her back, with split bangs over her forehead and a single strand sticking out from the top, sloping backwards. Naruto met Asia a year ago. She practically bled kindness and compassion. However, her church excommunicated her for healing a criminal. He felt bad for her and offered for her to stay at his place. She happily agreed, of course. She never had friends before Naruto and stuck to him like glue from fear of solitude. "Hello Naruto, how have you been?" "I have been fine, Kiba," Naruto replied with a smile. Hen Kaneko come in front of him, so he put his hand on her head, causing her to purr. Naruto loved petting her. He found it amusing and cute. He then pulled out a small bag of sweets from his pocket and gave it to her. "This is for you, Kaneko. It's some new candy my friend made and it's pretty delicious." With sparkling eyes, she took the candy and ate it without a care in the world. Naruto smiled. Very few things surpassed a happy Kaneko in cuteness. "So Asia, how do you like the club?" "It's really nice here. Everyone is quite amicable." Naruto nodded his head, then he walked towards Rias and Akano. He started sweating in nervousness, so he looked towards the Kiba and the group. Asia nodded his head, showing her support. Kiba gave him a thumbs up and Kaneko, well, she continued to eat her candy happily, but when Asia nudged her, she nodded quite enthusiastically, earning a chuckle from Naruto. "Hey there, Naruto, what's so funny?" Naruto nearly fell as he heard Rias' voice. He turned to her, nearly melting from the look of adorable curiosity on her face. "And nothing important. Rias." Unfortunately for Naruto, Rias had her eyes on Issei, who had taken to flirting with Akano. "Well, if you counted drooling like a dog in heat flirting." "What is it?" "Well, there's this new anime film that just released and I wanted to know, would you go out with me to see it?" He waited for her to reply and she nodded her head and said yes. He thought that she said yes to him, so he jubilantly gave her the location to told her he'd wait there. She probably wouldn't miss it, considering it took 5 minutes to get there from Issei's house. He walked to the door with a notable spring in his step and bid the other 3 farewell. As he walked out, Kiba and Kaneko looked at him in concern, as well as Asia, who also worried deeply for her fellow blonde. Unbeknownst to Naruto, Rias hadn't directed her affirmation to him. Naruto knew that Rias hasn't listened when he spoke with her. His mind told him to let her go to avoid heartbreak because she didn't want him around. However, her heart had faith in her and told him that she would come. 1 week later. Today made Naruto as happy as a clam. Today, he and Rias would spend the day together. He sat down on a bench in the park where he and Rias would meet and waited, and waited, and waited. She never came as the hours passed on by. Clouds covered the stars as Naruto slept on the bench where he continued to wait. He woke up when he felt someone's hand on his shoulder. He thought that Rias had finally came, but deflated when he saw that a child, around 4 or 5, had woken him up. He looked back at the child who eyed him curiously. "Did you wake me up?" The kid nodded his head. "You will catch a cold, mister, if you sleep here like this." Naruto looked at him with curiosity but nodded his head. The kid started to walk away from him, but Naruto called for him to stay a bit. The child gave Naruto a chance to catch up and bend to his level. "What's your name, kid?" "Jin Karya," the boy said while grinning. "What's your name, mister?" "My name is Naruto Uzumaki." The kid stared at Naruto for a few seconds before bursting into laughing. "Your name is Fishcake," A vein in Naruto's head throbbed as he grew angry. It means maelstrom, you little brat. Hey, my name is Jin, not brat. Naruto smiled at him, and he grabbed a piece of chocolate from his pocket and gave it to the boy known as Jin. Have this, Jin, and thanks for waking me up. Jin happily grabbed the chocolate and walked away. Naruto then looked at his wristwatch. 10 o'clock. He had just wasted an entire day waiting for someone who never came. As much as it pained him to admit, he made a grave error in judgment when he trusted his heart over his brain. Rias wanted Issei, the boy Naruto disliked, not him. When she first introduced Issei to Naruto as a member of her club, he didn't like the idea at all, but for the sake of Rias, he tolerated him. Well, a fat lot of good tolerance did him in the end. As Naruto walked towards his home, he took a shortcut. After a minute had gone by, he stumbled onto a group of thugs who decided to hinder an old man. Come on, geezer. Give us all the money you have and I promise we'll let you go. The man moved in terror as he pulled out his pocket and gave all the money he had to the thug holding a gun in one hand, while holding out the other to collect. What are you doing, creeps? You leave that man alone. Otherwise, Naruto left the threat hanging. The thugs looked at him in surprise before they started to chuckle. A second later it exploded into full-blown laughter. Do you really think you can take us on, brat? I'll say this, you've got a set of stones on you. Too bad you'll have to die with the old man. The old man turned to the thug with a gun in alarm. What? But you told me that you would let me go if I gave you all my money. Yeah, it was a lie. He pointed the gun at the old man. However, before he could pull the trigger, he felt sudden pain in his right cheek and he flew a few feet away. He looked back and saw that the one who clocked him proceeded to pummel every last one of his buddies. After a good 5 minutes of vengeful clobbering, Naruto tied the black and blue thugs to a nearby tree with rope. A few minutes, the police arrived at the behest of the old man. After the police put the thugs in handcuffs, Naruto saw no reason to stay, so he turned for his home. Now just wait a minute here, young man. Naruto stopped and turned to face the man. He looked somewhere in his mid-50s but had brown hair. Naruto waited for the man to speak. Instead the man walked up to him and bowed to Naruto. Sir, with all due respect, I only did what any morally decent human would do. You don't need bow to me, it's kind of awkward. Very well, my name is Hyodo. You can call me Lord Hyodo. I live nearby, so please, come with me to my home. Naruto would have said no, but his stomach growled. Betraying him, the man insisted. Please, it's the least I could do to thank my savior properly, and if your stomach gave me any hints, I would say you're pretty hungry. Naruto really didn't want to impose, but if the man really insisted, why should he say no? Okay then, lead the way. Naruto knew immediately that he just saved Issei's father, but said nothing. He couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that he would find Rias at Issei's house, but decided to walk with him to his home. Soon, they reached their destination and entered the house where a middle-aged woman stood to greet him. She noticed that her husband brought a guest with him. Welcome home, dear. Who's this young man you've brought with you? Honey, he is my savior. I am alive because of him. The wife started to yell but her husband put hand on her mouth. Be calm, I will explain everything. She nodded her head and walked into the living room. As they sat down, she walked with a cup of tea. However, because of the shock of what her husband told her, she didn't concentrate on her direction and stumbled, causing the tea to spill on Naruto's shirt. Oh goodness. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. No, it's fine, it's fine. I know you didn't do it on purpose. He used his handkerchief to dab dry his wet shirt. You should wash your shirt, the stain will ruin the shirt if you don't wash it out. Naruto asked her about a washroom. She told him the one on the current floor had a leak. If he wanted to, he could use the washroom upstairs to wash his shirt. Naruto nodded his head and walked upstairs. As he ascended the stairs, his body grew goosebumps. Naruto could feel it when something he didn't like happened in his general area. As he grew closer to the washroom, his brain screamed. Danger. The very next words Naruto heard made his heart stop. Issei. My virginity. Please let me give it to you. He knew who this voice belonged to. No, please no, No, I beg of you, no. He noticed the slightly ajar door. His mind tried its best to direct him away. It screamed and pulled with all its might, but natural curiosity triumphed in the end. Naruto didn't know what to do. The one girl he had a crush had just shattered him, not physically but emotionally. He then tore down the stairs with tears in his eyes, not caring if two suddenly knew of his presence. They could have each other for all he cared. As he ran down, he saw Issei's father and mother waiting for him. They had smiles on their faces until they saw the tears in his eyes. Those smiles then morphed into looks of concern. What happened, Naruto? Why are you crying? I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Hyodo, but I have to go. An emergency just arose in my family, so if you'd please excuse me. He put on his shoes and ran out the door before the couple could ask him anything more. Naruto ran and ran and ran. He had no ideal destination in mind. He had intended to propose to Rias today, only to find that she didn't love him. She loved someone else. He couldn't bear this pain. It hurt too much. He just kept running with a burning desire to let go of this burning pain in his stomach. The pain of betrayal. As Naruto ran, the rain started to pour. Naruto didn't mind. It helped hide the tears running down his cheeks. During his running, he slipped and fell. He did nothing but lay there, motionless. Then after some time, he balled his hands into fists and slammed them into the thankfully soft ground over and over again, crying out in anger, pain, and sadness. When he finally looked up, he found himself in the exact park where Rias had agreed to meet him at. He lay there for some time, but then he got up and started to walk, no destination in mind. At that point, with his thoughts in a jumble, he called his best friend, Sasuke Uchiha. As he talked with Sasuke, he saw Jinkarya, the same kid who he met at the park. Before he could speak, the kid called his name and dashed towards him. Suddenly, before he could reach Naruto, a car came roaring down the street at uncontrollable speeds. Jin looked at the headlights in horrified shock. Naruto dashed to save him, disregarding the possibility of not making it time. As he stepped in front of the headlights, he saw the driver and passenger close their eyes in fear. Naruto and Jin vanished from there and appeared on the other side of the road. Poor Jin slowly realized how close he came to death and started to weep. He never imagined that a stranger he met at a park would end up saving his life. He clung to Naruto and wept freely. Naruto covered him and started to walk towards the driver. He grabbed the car door and tore the door off of the metal hinges. The couple sat in cold stillness, petrified not only by the display of sheer strength, but also by the furious look he bore in his eyes. Naruto grabbed the man by the collar. If you can't control your speed when you're on the road, then don't get on the road at all. You nearly killed this child because of your recklessness. The woman in the car begged him for forgiveness and promised him that something like this will never happen again. Naruto, seeing the assurance in the woman's eyes, as well as a bit of desperation, let the guy go. Both of them got into the car and drove away in speeds that made Naruto comfortable. He then turned to an awestruck Jinkarya, who had stars in his eyes from witnessing Naruto's might. So, where do you live, Jin? Flashback end. As I dropped him at his home, he asked me to stay for a bit. The rest is as you found me. Sasuke had long since turned his gaze to the ground beneath them. It had since stopped raining. He clenched his fists and the look of fury on his face could burn the coldest block of ice. After hearing what the tramp, Rias, and that dog, Issei did to his best friend, any idiot could tell that he desired vengeance. Naruto saw this, and while appreciative for Sasuke's anger on his behalf, wanted to deal with this his own way. Don't, Sasuke. Why? You have every right to be angry. Hell, I'm angry, but what, Naruto? Sasuke damn near shouted. That bitch is sleeping with some panting bastard. She betrayed your trust, yet you're telling me not to go after them. Naruto turned to Sasuke with eyes of sub-zero temperatures. 1. You'll tell no one about this. 2. She didn't betray me. I was the fool who fell in love and this matter is closed. You'll tell no one about this, not Rias, and especially not Grandma. Sasuke just stared at him. I understand it will be difficult for you. But the last thing I need is for her to figure out I was watching her and that dog. Just keep this between us for now. Sasuke ground his teeth, but nodded his head at that. Both of them got up from the ground and started to walk. So you used your power, huh? Yes, but it was out of anger. Still, I think it's time, Sasuke. Time for what? Naruto turned to Sasuke, seriousness burning in his eyes. It's time for me to hunt again. Sasuke looked at him with wide eyes. Are you sure? You haven't done any training in the past few years, so you'd have to train yourself to the bone. Right now, I'm leagues above you in strength. Sasuke vanished from Naruto's sight and appeared few feet away from him and spoke, "Speed, too." Naruto chuckled. Be that as it may, Naruto spoke before he threw a punch towards Sasuke's face. Who just barely dodged. I still pack a mean punch. What are you doing, you idiot? Reminding you of my place atop the pecking order. Naruto smirked. Sasuke scoffed. Who told you that you're still the boss? Naruto grinned at Sasuke. No one needs to. I know for a fact that if I can knock you off your game with one of my normal punches, I'm still the boss. Sasuke's eyebrows twitched, so he closed his eyes. Like hell you can order me around. When Sasuke opened his eyes, Naruto had turned in a different direction from him. What are you bitching around? Go home, Sasuke. Tell Aunt Makoto not to worry. I'm fine, at least for now, he mumbled. Sasuke didn't leave it alone just yet. I know you're not fine, but I will head home and tell Mom that you're okay. Is there anything you want me to tell her? Naruto shook his head and walked towards his home with an attitude that he never showed in public. As Sasuke watched Naruto walk away, he closed his eyes and a figure appeared right next to Sasuke. Are you sure he's going to rejoin? I may be new, but he doesn't look all that powerful to me. Sasuke shook his head and chuckled. If you doubt his skills, then, where's your scarf? The woman noticed now that her scarf had disappeared. She stood in shock. How can my scarf be gone? I know I was wearing it a few moments ago. Look over there. Sasuke pointed. As she followed his finger, she saw her scarf wrapped warmly around Naruto's neck. The women smirked at the blonde's retreating back. My, he's quite quick. The difference in your speed is not that much. Both of you are evenly matched in terms of speed. Then how he was able to move that fast? I didn't see him move. It's his sacred gear, the end. It possesses the ability. Acceleration. To increase his fighting abilities to unknown level for few seconds. Still think he's weak, Yoruichi Shihoin. Yoruichi just smirked. She was a slender and well-endowed woman of average height. She had dark skin, golden irises, and black hair. Her hair was waist-length and kept in a ponytail with chin-length bangs framing the sides of her face. She wore a black, backless, sleeveless undershirt, an orange overshirt with 2 white straps on each shoulder, a large beige sash around her waist, and black stretch pants with a pair of lightweight brown shoes. You are really interesting, Naruto Uzumaki. I am gonna love having you. Sasuke saw the spark in her eyes and sighed. Naruto, you better watch yourself, buddy. This one's into you. Naruto shivered. I bet it was that woman. He surmised as he wrapped the scarf around himself tighter. As he reached his home, a regular 2-story house, he rung the bell. A second later he heard someone reply and then he heard Footst. P.S. As the door opened he saw the smiling face of Asia, the little blonde nun he took in. He smiled back, despite everything that had happened today. I'm home. Oh Naruto, welcome home. As Naruto walked, he removed his shoes. Naruto, you're soaking wet. Let me get you a towel. It's fine, Asia, I was going to take a shower anyway. He walked in the bathroom, disrobed, and then stepped into the hot bathtub. As he relaxed, he thought back to the talk he had with Sasuke in the park, as well as the ebony-skinned beauty who he snatched a scarf from. She was so gorgeous, maybe even more than Rias. He then shook his head. Damn it, Naruto, now's not the time. You've got to get yourself ready for training. As Naruto was thinking, the bathroom slid open and a woman walked in, stark naked. She was the very same woman he saw at the park, and being a teenager and human, he almost screamed, what the? But controlled himself. If Asia heard her voice, she'd come running, and if she saw this attractive naked lady, Naruto would have more to worry about than just a broken heart. Who are you? He asked quietly. Yoruichi looked at him with curiosity. She looked up and down his rugged body and approved of what she saw. Especially his half-mast member, which made her giggle. Naruto got annoyed at this. Why are you laughing and why are you here? Yoruichi suddenly vanished and appeared in front of Naruto's face and leaned towards his ear. Gotta say, kid, your package is rather impressive. Naruto's face got redder than a tomato. Feeling violated, he covered himself with his hands as the dark-skinned goddess in human flesh relaxed in the bathtub. She noticed Naruto still stood with his hands covering his manly bits. Smirking, she outstretched her arm and pulled one finger towards her in the bathtub. As a man, it went against his values to turn down a woman's proposition, plus his heart needed healing, so he also joined her in the bathtub. Yoruichi moved her legs around Naruto's masculine chest, enjoying his callous abdominal and pectoral muscles. The graceful and rapid patterns of her legwork drove Naruto close to the edge. She then started to press her boobs on his right haw. ND and her right hand slowly moved all over his body. She had also intertwined her legs with his. Naruto's grip on his composure continued to loosen and loosen so she moved towards his face. Yoruichi could feel it just as well as she could see it. Her lips were so close to his, even the slightest movement of their head would result in a kiss. It took everything Naruto had not to lose himself to the temptation of this deadly seductive woman. He thought of an awkward moment he experienced with Rias and Akino, and then all the memories came rushing to him like a flood. These memories caused Naruto pain, but they also reinforced her stand against the temptation. He bowed his head slightly and her lips met his forehead instead of his own lips. When he looked back up, he separated himself from her. She looked shocked and a little hurt, but inside she felt impressed at the sudden control over his carnal desires. Yoruichi, anyone, including women, could fall for your beauty, but it's not right. I could tell. You were in the park for some time, so there's a good chance you heard me and Sasuke talking. Hell, you probably heard everything that happened to me today. Yoruichi nodded her head. If we do something like this right now, how different would I be from that drooling mutt who the girl I had a crush on ultimately gave herself to? Yoruichi nodded again in understanding, but with noticeable sadness as well. I would like it if we could start off as friends, and one day, when we know each other well enough to know whether or not we want each other, and something like this happens again. I'd be thrilled to do this with you. Yoruichi was surprised at that but gave him a sly smile. Well, you're certainly not the usual boy. Fine, not today, maybe not tomorrow, but I will make you mine, you cute little Adonis. She exited the bathtub, dried herself off, and clothed herself. Before she left, she gave him a peck on the cheek and a wink before vanishing in a flash. Naruto released a sigh of frustrated relief. Before today, he would never have so much trouble controlling himself. In a few minutes, he also emerged from the bathtub, changed into his nightwear, and he called his grandmother. Hi Granny, it's me, Naruto. Oh Naruto dear, how are you? I'm well, Granny, how are you? Oh, your grandmother is fine, but you never call me at this time of the night. Is there a problem? It's not really a problem. More like an announcement. I was thinking of coming back to the hunters. Naruto said, Dear, I told you when you left that a light would always be left on for you. But if you're going to get back into that lifestyle, it's going to require some very intense training. Naruto smirked at that. I wouldn't have it any other way, Granny. Well, I'll be waiting for you, son. Anything else I can do? There was also another reason I called you, Granny. Well, what would that be for? I have a friend living with me. If I leave, she'll have to live alone for some time. And she has a bit of a difficult past. Could you send someone to live with her for a while? I'm planning on enrolling her into the academy tomorrow. Okay, I will send someone to take care of her for some time. Thanks Granny, you're the best. You're damn right, and don't ever forget that. With a few chuckles, they both hung up. And cut. Thanks for reading my story, special thanks. Maud Daniel, have a nice day. Chapter 2. Chapter 2. Naruto walked out of his room to see Asia watching TV in the living room. He walked towards her. Asia noticed Naruto was coming and created space for him to sit. Do you feel okay now? Naruto. Yeah Asia, I'm fine now. Why? Did you think I wasn't well? You looked quite blue. not to mention you walked all the way home in the rain, so I thought. Naruto sat down and put an arm around her shoulders and rested his cheek on her head. Thank you for worrying about me, Asia, but I'm better now, I promise. I'm glad to hear it, Naruto. Asia smiled. Suddenly, her head began to ache. But she ignored it. Naruto knew why she felt pain in her head. After all, he saw everything with his own 2 eyes. It seemed like only yesterday he met her for the first time and saved her from some fallen angels. Naruto, who felt quite upset, continued to walk with his vision the ground beneath his 2 feet. Now, what put Naruto in such a bad mood? Well, if you saw the guy who hated you the most standing beside the girl you loved the most, you'd be upset too. He had quite a few qualms about Issei joining Rias' occult research club, but none that Rias would listen to. Naruto, deep within his thoughts, had no complete gathering of his surroundings and ended up bumping into somebody. The collision knocked him out of his daze and he looked to see a cute nun gathering her belongings, which fell from the collision. Naruto fell to a knee and gathered her belongings for her. Sorry about that, he said. Let me help you. Oh, it's all right. I'm not hurt. Still, I should have been paying more attention. It's fine. I wasn't paying attention myself. Naruto looked at her curiously. I've never seen someone like you around before. Are you a foreigner? She nodded. I am from Italy and I was transferred to church of this town and you lost your way. Naruto completed the sentence. The nun played with her fingers. Yes, could you tell me how to get there? Naruto had never been inside the church, but the girl asked in such an innocent manner, it would have pained him inside to deny her. As both of them walked beside each other through the park, they decided to get to know each other by making small talk. I am new here, but luckily I met a kind young man. This must be a god's will. Naruto just smiled at that, but in reality he didn't like the god's part. Yeah, you might be right. Suddenly, they heard the cry of a child. The nun saw this and ran towards the child. It was a boy who had taken a rather nasty fall. When the nun saw his injury, she immediately began to heal him. Naruto stood, shocked at the young nun's ability to heal. This girl has the sacred gear, Twilight Healing, huh? Yet, she got transferred to the abandoned church. How strange. When the nun finished healing the boy, she turned towards Naruto, small bit of shame evident of her face. I am sorry, I just instinctively helped him. Naruto shook his head. No, don't worry, you helped someone who needed it. It's not a problem. They both started to walk towards the church again, but Naruto never left the nun's ability to heal alone in his mind. How strange. I've never met anyone with the sacred gear of Twilight Healing. What else could she be trying to hide? I must have surprised you. The nun said quietly. Naruto shook his head, not surprised. But you definitely have a great power. Indeed, because this power was given to me by the gods. Naruto understand the meaning behind her words. She wants to help everyone, but with great power comes a great burden. The greater the power, the greater the burden. They continued to walk until they saw the church and the nun pointed it out. That's the church, mister. Thank you so much for helping me. Would you like to come with me? Naruto saw the dilapidated church and didn't want to stick around any longer than he had to, but when the nun asked him to join her, he nodded his head again, while cursing his inability to say no to cute girls. The both walked with silence. Once they reached the door, Asia invited him inside for tea, but Naruto respectfully declined, but not without missing to have tea with her the very next time they met. The nun's face brightened considerably. All in all, this meeting brought joy to both their spirits. Before Naruto departed, he extended his arm and spoke. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, but you can call me Naruto. The girl also shook hands with Naruto. My name is Asuya Argento. It's really nice to meet such a kind man when I first come in Japan. Well, thanks for the compliment. But it's no problem. I love helping my friends. That comment surprised Asia. This man, a man who she met literally a half hour ago, already called her his friend. Are you sure? Asia asked with a bit of hope in her eyes. Absolutely. Anything for a friend of mine. He removed his charm from his neck, took Asia's hand, and placed it inside. This was given to me by my grandmother. Now, I think you should have it. If you ever need my help, just take the charm, place it in your hand, call my name and I will be there. This gesture of friendship and trust overwhelmed Asia. She had just met this man and yet he had placed so much trust into her. She didn't know what to do, what course of action to take, so she did the one thing that felt right. She gave him a big hug. The sudden display of affection surprised Naruto, but he relaxed and gently ran his fingers through her long, blonde locks. Asia's tears continued to fall, not from sadness, but from the joy she felt from making friends with such an ingenuous person, on her first day in Japan, no less. After some time she separates herself and she was embarrassed of her actions so she bowed to him. I am really sorry, it's just, I was so happy when you called me your friend so. Naruto put his hand on her head. It's okay, I understand how it feels to be alone. Before Asia could ask about an why thing he waved at her and started running in a different direction. Asia also waved at him and she walked inside of the church. Next day, Naruto, once more, walked around the park. This time, however, his mood had taken a turn for the worse. He had an argument with Rias that hadn't stayed within boundaries. That damn pervert, Issei, had tailed him and kept tabs on him. He told Rias that Naruto was walking around with another girl. When Naruto confirmed it, this made her angry, but when he pointed out she had recently spent much more time with Issei, she became angrier. Rias, Queen also didn't like Naruto making Rias angry either. Naruto, not wanting to say or do anything he'd regret, left the club room and paced around the park a few times, muttering things along the lines of, damn pervert, and, pretty, red-headed hypocrite. As Naruto continued to pace, as fate would have it, he encountered the blonde little nun from yesterday. Asia, how are you? And what are you doing here? Asia didn't counted on meeting Naruto until a time came where she really needed him, but she welcomed his presence happily. Hello, Naruto, I'm well. Today's my day off. Naruto could tell when someone spoke a lie, and Asia just did. But he didn't want to press it. Say, why don't we grab a bite? Naruto grabs her hand and they walked to a small ramen shop. Naruto's desire for ramen made him a preferred customer there. To Asia, she had no idea how to eat ramen. Naruto saw the confusion and proceeded to show her how to eat using chopsticks. She gathered a small amount of ramen with her chopsticks and ate it. Tears came to the female blonde's eyes as she tasted ramen for the first time. Naruto saw this and slightly panicked. Do you not like it? If so, don't force yourself. Asia wiped her tears. No, it's really delicious. It's my first time eating with a friend. It just feels really nice. The chef overheard Asia's comments and chuckled. After the two blondes finished their meal, Naruto put his hand in the pocket but the chef dismissed it. Don't worry about it, my boy. This one's on the house. Really? Naruto asked, stunned. Of course, Naruto, because you brought such a nice girl along. Both of them blushed a little bit but Naruto shook it off. Thanks a bunch, Gramps. See you later. Asia felt unbelievably joyful. She had just arrived in Japan, and already she met someone as wonderful as Naruto who had become her friend in just a day, and now she had just had a free lunch with said friend. Asia felt inexplicably content with herself. It made Naruto glad to see Asia happy. She looked absolutely pure of heart, but at the same time, he knew that she knew of her current affiliation. He knew that the fallen angels had a hold of Asia. Asia was humming as they were walking but she stopped humming when Naruto called her name. Yes, Naruto, you seem to be quite happy today, Naruto stated. Asia's cheerfulness increased. I am happy because, say it feels like my dream will come true. Naruto also becomes curious of her dreams so. And what, if you don't mind me asking, is your dream? To make many wonderful friends like you and plant many different kinds of flowers with them. That is my dream, Asia responded, with the sun shining upon her back. Naruto couldn't say a word. He didn't know what to say. This sweet and kind girl only wanted to make plenty of friends. He swore to himself then and there that he'd be with her every step of the way. I am sure you will make lots of friends, Asia, and every new friend you make, I'll promise I'll be there for you. Asia's eyes watered a bit from happiness. This is only their second meeting, yet she already felt safer around him and she couldn't ignore the warm feeling she got when she drew close to him. Suddenly, Asia stops smiling and looks down at her feet. What happened, Asia? Are you not feeling well? Asia shook her head. Naruto. My powers, what do you think of them? Naruto didn't expect this question but answered nonetheless. I think you have a really great power, Asia. You can help so many people with it. But what if I used them to heal a criminal? Would you think any less of me? She asked. Naruto scratched the back of his head. It doesn't matter who you healed. You saw the injured person and you helped him. If I was in your place, I would have done the very same thing. I don't care what other people would have thought of you for it. You did what you thought was right. That alone makes you a great person, Asia. Asia's heart soared even further, despite the tears running down her face. Naruto didn't like the sight of Asia crying, not one bit. Asia, why are you crying? It's just, Asia choked out while wiping her tears. I actually did heal a criminal. But the church called what I did a sin. As a result, I was excommunicated from the church. Naruto, you are the first person who told me it doesn't matter if I healed the criminal or not. You're the first person to look at what I did and not call me a sinner. Naruto's heart ached. He brought his fellow blonde into a warm sudden contact surprised Asia. Don't worry, Asia, I will never see all you that and it doesn't matter who you become in the future, I will make your dream reality. That's a promise. She had tried to stop crying when Naruto brought her in, but when he made that promise, the waterworks ran again. Naruto then noticed someone with a medium level of dark angelic power was watching them. He noticed that the perverted dog was also watching them but he focused on the bigger power and it looked a bit familiar so Naruto broke the hug. Asia, wait here, I'll be back in a minute. She nodded her head and Naruto started to walk towards public washroom. As soon as Naruto left, Issei walked in front of Asia and started gazing at her. The staring made things really awkward for Asia but Naruto told her to wait. She trusted Naruto and whenever she needed him, she always had the charm he gave her. How do you know Naruto? I met him yesterday when I lost my way to the church I was working for until recently. Anyway, he helped me to find it and he also told me I am his friend. Are you a friend of Naruto's? She asked, curiosity in the last part of the question. A glint appeared in Issei's eyes. That's right, I'm Naruto's friend, in fact, I'm his closest friend. Asia, happy to get know one of Naruto's friends, especially his apparently closest friend, smiled brightly. My name is Asia, who are you? Issei snapped himself from his erotic fantasies. My name is Issei. He intended to make more conversation but their conversation came to an abrupt halt by someone. With Naruto. Naruto walked towards the public washroom and stopped in the middle. When he saw no one there, he vanished without a trace and appeared in front of a fallen angel. The fallen angel was surprised and shocked by his sudden appearance but controlled herself. Naruto stood on one pillars and his eyes narrowed at the fallen angel in front of him, an attractive young woman with violet eyes. She had long black hair down to her hips. Her large bust betrayed her slender form. What are you doing here, Rainier? Rainier jerked her body towards the voice but when she saw who stood before her, she felt tremendous amount of fear. Why wouldn't she? The man who stood in front of her was the man she feared the most. The same person who killed her subordinate who wanted to have fun with human women. She gulped loudly. I won't ask you again, Rainier. Why are you here? Answer quickly and honestly. Rainier cursed her bad luck for having someone like Naruto appearing in front of her at such a time. She knew she couldn't fight him, she'd die. I'm here for that none. Why? Because she is our subordinate so I was here to take her back to the church. You mean the same church that excommunicated her? Sorry, but no, Asia will be living with me from now on and if you have any problems with that, then by all means, go tell Azazel that Asia is now under my protection and if anything happens to her, there will be consequences. Rainier could do nothing but nod. He nodded in return, internally grateful for the opportunity to end things without bloodshed. Naruto suddenly felt a sudden spike of power and it was coming from Asia's place. Of course it couldn't end without bloodshed, why would it? He growled. He prepared to teleport but he had to dodge an attack, lest he lose his head. When he looked up at the assailant, the sight of a fallen angel didn't surprise him, however the six wings did. Rainier immediately recognized the newcomer and shouted in protest. Master Kenta, please don't attack him. Why not? I have 6 wings and am much more powerful than you. Naruto jumped on the ground and calmed himself, then he got into his stance. Why are you attacking me? It's quite simple, really. We want that nun's sacred gear. Naruto's hair shadowed. His eye and a white aura began to cover his form. So you plan to take her sacred gear away from her? Indeed. We will rip it out of her and use it for ourselves. But before we kill her, we just might. The fallen angel couldn't finish his sentence because a punch with the concussive force of a boulder went straight to his chest. Kenta couldn't say a word, he could only choke on the blood poo. Ling in his throat as his heart ceased beating. He stared at Naruto, realizing too late why his subordinate begged him not to fight. With a splash, his body fell into a fountain, lifeless and growing cold. Naruto looked at Rainier with unimaginable fury. If you even dare to touch her, I will erase your existence. Rainier looked at him with fear. She could do nothing other than nod as she vanished in a hurry. Naruto vanished from there and appeared where he left Asia, but he saw that Issei had a few wounds. He ran towards Issei, who yelped at Naruto's sudden appearance. But if Naruto's appearance startled him, then the look of fury he gave to Issei would haunt the pervert's nightmares for days. Where is Asia? Issei couldn't possibly tell him that a fallen angel had taken her. He'd never believe him, or if he did, he'd more than likely beat him into oblivion for not doing more to protect her. So he started to walk away, avoiding the question. Naruto obviously wouldn't have it and grabbed his shoulder, causing him to wince. I asked you something, Mutt. A girl was sitting here. Where is she now? I don't know. What are you talking about? What girl? I didn't see any girl in a nun outfit. Quote ellipsis quote. Quote ellipsis quote. I didn't say she was wearing a nun outfit. Issei cursed himself for his ability to say the wrong thing at the wrong time, especially to an already absolutely livid Naruto. Said. Blonde grabbed Issei by the throat and proceeded to squeeze mercilessly. You're trying my patience, Mutt. Now tell me where she is. She was kidnapped. A middle-aged man came out of nowhere, attacked us, and took her with him. Issei strained to say, his face slowly transitioning from blue to purple. Naruto relaxed his grip, causing Issei to fall to the ground unceremoniously. The brunette Sue, get as he tried to bring in as much air in and out of his body as he could. Which way? What do you mean, which way? Which way did the man, WHO took her, go, you imbecile? Issei almost soiled his pants, but quickly pointed in the direction where the man took Asia. Naruto turned back towards Issei with murder in his eyes and growled. One scratch on her body, and the very next time I see you, unless Rias can stop me, I will kill you. With that, he dashed off in the direction Issei pointed in, leaving the brunette to collapse in utter fear. Later, after a few hours of searching, he sensed Rainier. Without any delay, he teleported to her location. What he saw shouldn't have shocked him, but it did. She lay on the floor of a church building, the exact same church that he helped Asia find the other day. She lay covered in bruises and had multiple puncture wounds. He saw her attackers standing few feet away from him. Without looking at the other 3 occupants, he knelt down towards Rainier. What happened, Rainier? Quote. With all the strength her battered and bloody form could muster, she turned to see who had come to her side. Despite the shock, she answered him. The nun you befriended, Asia, they took her. I did my best to stop them, to no avail, as you can see. She took a break in her speech to cough. You're strong. You have to stop them before they extract her gear. When he heard the words extract and gear, he became stupendously furious and his body started to emit a white aura. Naruto got to his feet slowly and started to walk towards the 3 fallen angels, who got into fighting stances. They stood ready to attack, but when they saw into his eyes, they froze in fear. Their bodies refused their command and could do nothing but wait for Naruto to attack, which he did. He vanished from his spot and, in an instant, the male of the 3 fallen angels felt his skull shatter with a single punch. The unfortunate fallen angel flew right out of the church, soaring hundreds of meters away, crashing through trees and rocks, but he came to a stop when his lifeless carcass crashed against a giant boulder. Seeing this, the 2 other fallen angels flew for their lives. But Naruto vanished and appeared above the blonde fallen angel, and using an axe kick, he sent the fallen angel crashing to the ground, unconscious. The final fallen angel looked at Naruto in absolute fright. He had just sent two of her fellow fallen angels flying, one through the air and the other to the ground. What could she do against power like that? As Naruto approached, she immediately fell to her knees. No, please, don't hurt me. I was ordered to attack Rainier. I would never do anything to her willingly. I beg of you, spare me. Naruto could practically feel the fallen angel lying, but decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. He turned around and walked back to the church where Rainier lay. The kneeling fallen angel saw that if she ever had the best opportunity to kill the blonde, it would be now. She jumped high into the sky, summoned a light spear and threw it as hard as she could towards Naruto. Take that, you bastard! The fallen angel screamed, owing manically as the spear continued on its course towards Naruto. Unfortunately for her, Naruto saw the attack coming and tilted his body slightly, grabbed the light spear in hand and threw it right back towards her. The stunned fallen angel didn't even have time to think as her own light spear went right through her gut. How the impossible, she groaned as she fell to the ground harshly. Naruto walked towards her and grabbed the fallen angel by her throat and spoke, I gave you chance to live but you throw it away. No, 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 please, I will not do this again. I'll do anything, please. Naruto didn't fall for her pleading then and he wouldn't now. He flung the desperate fallen angel into the sky and held his hand out. A ball of energy appeared in his hand and he aimed it towards the fallen angel. Crimson flash. Naruto fired a powerful red beam from his hand towards the airborne fallen angel, who could do nothing but scream in despair as she felt the powerful red beam obliterate her, leaving no trace. The beam had so much power, so many people in Kuo could see it and those who did made a mental note not to piss out whoever had that kind of power, or at least clear when that person got into a bad mood. Naruto walked back towards the church and found Rainier, where she lay as still as a doll. When she saw Naruto, she closed her eyes and steeled herself for her death. A death that would not come that day. She felt her strength returning and her wounds healed at a rapid pace. She opened her eyes to see that Naruto had his hand above her chest and his hand was glowing green. She turned her pouting face away indignantly as her cheeks gained a brush of pink. Hey, she may be a fallen angel, but she's still a girl who doesn't like boys putting their hands near where they don't belong. Naruto's hand stopped glowing and he moved his hand away. Rainier, if I didn't know you, I'd more than likely have killed you in my rage. Please don't be as difficult as that mutt from earlier. Tell me where they took Asia. As Rainier looked into Naruto's eyes and saw desperation, not unlike that fallen angel who had just obliterated, but a lot milder in comparison. Rainier sighed. She's being held at our hideout. We need to hurry. It's almost time for the ritual. Naruto asked. You don't know where it is, dummy, so I have to take you there. Gee, Rainier, thanks. Naruto smiled graciously. I'm not doing this for free, dummy. I expect you to pay me back. Also, I'm determining when. Rainier snapped, poking her finger into Naruto's chest. Well, Kuo wasn't made in a day. Naruto thought, but nodded his head and both of them teleported to base of the fallen angels, also known as the Sanctuary of the Fallen. The Sanctuary of the Fallen. As Naruto and Rainier entered their church, they saw a psychotic exorcist holding a holy sword and a gun. Rainier hissed at him. She never liked this man. What the hell are you doing here, Fried? She asked with impure disdain in her voice. The name named Fried looked at them lecherously. Well, Rainier dear, how nice of you to join us. What am I doing here, you ask? Well, I'm here to kill your boyfriend and then, well, I'm sure a beautiful fallen angel such as yourself can get some ideas. Rainier flushed crimson when Fried called Naruto her boyfriend. It certainly didn't help when she had to hold on to him in order for her to take to the sanctuary. Her musing, however, came to a halt when she sensed how tense the blonde beside her felt. Very few fallen angels knew of Naruto's power and unfortunately for Fried, he did not know. Do not cast those eyes upon me, scum. I am Fried, exorcist extraordinaire who sets innocent humans free from the demons that possess them. Naruto started to walk towards Fried slowly. There are 3 different kinds of people I despise. I hate liars, especially those who lie to themselves. I also hate traitors. But worse than that, I absolutely despise anyone who believes they can have their way with any woman without consequence. You just happen to be all. 3. Naruto suddenly vanished from his view and kneed him in the right side of the face. The force caused so much pain that Freed knew pain and only pain. He flew to the other side of the room and crashed against the wall, slumping down from the wall. Satisfied with the sight of an incapacitated liar, traitor, potential rapist unconscious, Naruto focused on rescuing Asia. The fallen angel and blonde descended to the basement when they saw Asia. Her head slumped down as chains bound her to a cross. A fallen angel with 6 wings turned to them with a maliciously triumphant look on her face. Well, you actually arrived. Good, I was starting to get bored. This little bitch kept going on and on. Oh, Naruto will make you regret this. And, Naruto's not gonna let you get away with this. I've heard of fangirls, but come on. This brat has it ingrained in her head that you're here Prince Charming. Well, your white horse wasn't fast enough. The ritual has already been completed. Naruto suddenly appeared in front of the fallen angel and punched her in the gut with earth-shattering force. She crashed into the wall behind her and spat out blood at her spine bent forward. Naruto destroyed the cross and caught Asia gently. Asia, please say something. Anything. He called desperately. He wanted to hear her voice again. Asia slowly opened her eyes, and when she saw Naruto crying, she felt sad for making him cry. Naruto. Naruto looked towards her as she called his name. She smiled adoringly at him. I'm sorry, Naruto, I wasn't there when you returned. Naruto looked at her with concern and shock. How can she be concerned more about me than her own self? Naruto hugged her tightly. It's not your fault, Asia. I was the one who was late. I should have gone back to you faster so this wouldn't have happened. Damn it, Asia, I'm sorry. Naruto groaned as more tears came down his cheek. Asia raised a free hand to wipe the water from his face. Don't be, Naruto, you were my first friend and you accepted me, despite the fact that we were strangers only yesterday. I regret nothing, because I got to see my first friend, my best friend, again. Her hand slipped from her face and fell to her side as her body relaxed. Naruto's eyes widened from shock. Asia, the girl he had come to care for so much in such a short amount of time, gone. The fallen angel floated towards Naruto, holding her stomach as she landed in front of him. She held a light spear as she snarled at the distraught blonde. Cheeky brat, you dare raise your hands against the mighty Diane. The crime you have just committed will receive no forgiveness and the penalty is death. With a cry, the fallen angel named Diane hurled her light spear at Naruto, who could not move due to his shock at Asia's death. However, just before the spear could pierce his heart, a Seikon light spear intercepted the one thrown by Diane, causing them to explode safely away from the blonde. The explosion snapped Naruto out of his shock. He looked towards Rainier, who stood surrounded by many exorcists. Naruto, don't just kneel there dumbfounded. Why do you think we came here in the first place? Snap out of it. Naruto, with renewed determination, wiped the tears and looked towards Diane with pure anger. He then collected Asia in his arms like a bride and leapt towards Rainier. He looked directly into the eyes of the fallen angel, who blushed slightly and shuddered under his powerful gaze. Rainier, why yes, take Asia and get to cover. He handed Asia into Rainier's arms. Rainier looked at the blonde and sighed. Naruto, you better make sure come back alive. I need to cash in on the deal we made. Remember? Naruto nodded. Then Rainier flew away from the area. Naruto turned towards Diane and glared coldly at the fallen angel. How could you have done something like this to someone and kind and credulous as Asia? She came here to find friends who would accept her. Friends. Oh ho 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 ho. You were a funny one, you know that. I could care less what that spineless twerp wanted. All I needed was her sacred gear. Now I can heal myself over and over no matter the injury. So you had her kidnapped, beaten, and murdered, just so you could have her sacred gear? Naruto asked coldly. Memories of his time with Asia flashed before him as his hair shadowed his eyes. But of course, as Diane uttered those words, she felt a huge rush of power heading towards her. Diane closed her eyes because of the sudden force, but when she opened her eyes, the sight of a muscular Naruto covered in a yellow aura stunned her. Naruto glared at Diane intently, making her balk. He disappeared and Diane could do nothing to stop the kick aimed for the left side of her face, sending her crashing back into the wall Naruto had sent her earlier. I despise people like you the most. You have this ingrained belief that you're entitled to the power we hold in our bodies. Diane, was it? Listen Diane, we are not tools that you can use as you please. We are humans, and humans like me. We know how to fight for ourselves. However, you made the unforgivable mistake of killing Asia, and for that, I will make sure to erase your existence entirely. There will be no place for you in the other world. Naruto then started to power up to his maximum limit. The sheer power pouring out of him caused the building to shake and the ground beneath him started to quake. Yellow armor began to cover his body with red jewels on his shoulders, chest, both knees, and in the palms of his hands with dragon-like wings sprouting from his back. His helmet had a long horn and one small jewel lay on his forehead. For a finishing touch, his normally cerulean blue eyes had began to burn a scarlet red. Obliteration Dragon Balance Breaker. Diane couldn't a single muscle. The power emanating from Naruto stood to overwhelm her. And the barrier around the church started to crumble. Naruto then cocked back his fist. Diane's eyes shrunk in confusion as a punch from that distance stood no chance of reaching her. Then her eyes widened in horrific realization. Why, you are one of them, the legendary. She would never get to finish that sentence as the fist that he cocked hit the air. The hit on its own did nothing. But the shockwave that resulted from the punch had so much force behind it that Diane, half the church and all of her exorcists lay victim to the annihilating blow. Yep, one of the 7 warlords. The legendary, Deathblow Dragon, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto powered down and released his scale mail and secured Asia's sacred gear. Then he started to look for Asia and Rainier. He didn't have to search long as Rainier flew towards Naruto with Asia in her arms. Naruto signaled Rainier to lay Asia on the ground. As she did, Naruto resealed the sacred gear inside her, but before they could do anything more, they felt multiple familiar energies. Rainier, I'll find a way to repay you for what you've done for me and Asia today, but you gotta get out of here now. Rainier nodded and vanished elsewhere. Naruto hid his energy signature. When Rias and her peerage teleported at the Church of Abundance, they were so shocked to see the church was destroyed and there were so much blood around everywhere. What the hell happened here? Who could have destroyed this place? President, are you sure we should be here right now? Don't panic, whoever the person did this is now gone, but one thing's for sure. That person was using a sacred gear. Issei felt shocked and happy. Shocked because of the sheer power used by the sacred gear and happy because if he could learn to use that kind of power, he could kick Naruto's ass easily. As Rias, peerage surveyed the destruction, Rias saw the light of teleportation. She immediately flew towards the source. Seeing this, her peerage flew with her, well, except for Issei. He didn't know how to fly, so he could only run behind them. Kiba hung back to help Issei. Soon enough, they reached their destination. However, when Issei saw who lay on the ground, he paled in fear. For an instant, he could see himself dead by Naruto's hands, but then he looked towards Rias and spoke. President, it's the same girl Naruto was hanging out with the other day. That revelation surprised Rias a bit, but she didn't let it show. She turned towards Asia and pulled a chess piece, the bishop. President, what is this? This is a bishop piece. With this, I will revive her as a devil and add her in my peerage. But, President, why are you reviving her? I thought you didn't like it when Naruto was hanging out with her. Yes, that is true. I didn't like her when Naruto was hanging out with her, but her healing abilities could come in handy for us demons. Oh my, President. I'm not sure if that's the only reason why you're reviving her. What the hell are you talking about, Akeno? Let's just get this over with. Rias spoke with a flushed expression. As Rias placed the bishop piece above Asia, she spoke in a voice with much more power than she held. I, Rias Grimori, hereby order you, Ossia Argento, to heed me. Bring your soul back to this world, and become my part of my peerage as a devil. You shall own my bishop and rejoice in your newfound life. A red glow covered Asia after Rias finished speaking. A few seconds passed before Asia opened her eyes. The first thing she saw in her second life was Ria's curious face. She looked around, shocked at the destruction that took place while she was dead. "Hello," Rias greeted kindly. Asia quickly got up and, with a polite bow, returned the greeting. "Hello, my name is Rias Gramori and I have resurrected you as a devil." Hearing this, Asia became a bit sad before she remembered Naruto's words. "Don't worry, Asia, I will never call you that. It doesn't matter who you become in the future, I will make your dream reality. That's a promise." Remembering those words brought a small smile to Asia's face as she looked towards Rias, but then her eyes fell on Issei, who she instantly recognized. "Hello Hyodo-san, it's nice to see you again." "Right, it's nice to see you, again," Issei said, blushing at the use of the honorific. Asia suddenly appeared in front of Rias. "Are you all friends with Naruto-san?" Rias nodded her head, but to her surprise, Asia seemed happier over the fact that they had called themselves Naruto's friends, rather than the fact that she had just come back to life. "Asia, why are you so happy?" "Naruto told me that he has some friends who are all really good people. He told me any friend of mine is a friend of his and vice versa. So if you're all Naruto's friends, then you're all my friends too, right?" Rias. Peerage didn't know what to say, but Rias smiled at her. "Right, Asia, yeah, any friend of Naruto's a friend of ours." Rias and everyone teleported out of the area, leaving Naruto alone in the shadows. He emerged from the darkness and looked towards sky. "Damn, I really need to control my emotions." He leapt off the ground into the sky and began his flight home. The next day, Naruto saw Asia standing beside Rias, waiting for him. As soon as he saw her, he ran and gave Asia a big hug, making the blonde immensely happy, while the redhead puffed her cheeks in jealousy. Flashback end. Naruto. Naruto came to his senses as Asia called his name. Naruto smiled at Asia. "Yeah, Asia, what's up?" "Well, you were looking at the seal with so intently that I thought something might be wrong," Asia replied. Naruto sighed softly and put his left hand on her head. "Don't worry, I'm fine. Just thinking about something." "Can I know what were you thinking of?" "Well Asia, there is something I want to tell you." "What happened? Is something wrong?" "I talked with Granny a little bit before I came down. And I need to go and see her because of some work." Asia became sad when she heard that Naruto was going somewhere, leaving her. "Asia, don't worry, I will be back as soon as I possibly can. And I'm not leaving you by yourself. Someone's staying with you until I come back." As soon as he said that, the doorbell rang. Who might that be at this hour? Asia thought. That was faster than I thought. I guess Granny wants me to get back into shape as soon as possible, Naruto thought. Asia got up and started to walk towards the door, but Naruto stopped her. "Asia, hang on, I'll see who it is," he said as he walked towards the door. However, as soon as he opened the door, someone came in fast and slammed into Naruto with the speed of a bullet train. "Big brother." "Who?" The projectile came in the form a teenage girl with long brown hair and wearing a cap and a jumpsuit while carrying a backpack. Sitting on the male's stomach, the girl looked at Naruto's face, but she could only see swirls in his white eyes. She tilted her head in confusion at seeing the boy out cold, then grabbed him by his collar and proceeded to shake him violently. "Wake up, Naruto. Wake up. Wake up." Seeing this, Asia stepped forward and put a stop to her poor friend's torture. "Please stop, you're only hurting him more." The girl looked at Asia and smiled. "My name's Arayli. Nice to meet you, miss." She held her out hand for Asia to shake. The blonde didn't want to give off the impression of being a bad host, so she stuck her hand out in return. "It's nice to meet you as well. My name is Asia Argento." Arayli smiled widely, but before they could say anything else, they heard groaning. "Ooh, my gut feels like it got hit with a shell from an anti-tank rifle." Naruto groaned and looked towards who stood in front of him. "So she sent her, huh? Well, she's undoubtedly strong and she might be the best choice." He got up clutching his stomach. "Nice to see you, Arayli. How've you been?" asks Naruto. "Great, what about you?" "Big brother, why are you holding your stomach?" A tick mark appeared on the male blonde. "You were the one who crashed into my gut like a cannonball." Arale ignored Naruto's yelling and sat on the sofa. She looked at Asia, who was supporting Naruto. I'm going to be staying with Miss Asia here. Naruto nodded his head and sat on the sofa in front of her. That's right, you'll be staying with Asia for the time being. Treat her well and no matter what happens, Arale, don't let her out of your sight. Am I clear? Arale nodded her head. Naruto looked towards Asia, who was still saddened over Naruto's departure, but she looked towards the blonde with a happy smile. Don't worry, Naruto. I will take care of myself and I won't leave her side so you don't have to worry. Naruto nodded his head and gave her a small smile. Okay then, I will be off for a few days. Arale, you and Asia give the documents to Sasuke, he will handle everything school-wise. Arale nodded, her head in understanding of Naruto's orders. Well then, both of you should go and sleep. You both have to go to school tomorrow. Naruto spoke with a smile. Both Asia and Arale got up and walked towards Asia's room as Arale wanted to take a bath before the bath. Arale changed her clothes to nightwear and slept in Asia's bed, leaving little space for Asia to sleep, so after some time, Asia walked out of her room and walked to Naruto's room. Naruto. Yes Asia, come in. As Asia entered the room, she saw him packing his backpack. Not feeling sleepy, Asia nodded. Are you done packing? Yeah, I'm almost done. Do you really have to go? Naruto stopped his packing and looked towards Asia. He walked towards her as she looked down at the ground, sadness in her eyes. Asia, I know you will feel a bit lonely. But you have a new friend now. I promise as soon as I'm done with Granny, I'll move as quickly as I can back here, okay? Promise. Naruto held her hand up to his lips and kissed it. Promise. Asia smiled brightly after that and started to leave but stopped at the door and turned back to Naruto. Is there anything else you need, Asia? Asia shook her head, but then she started to play with her fingers. Naruto, can I sleep in your room for tonight? All right, you take the bed and I'll sleep on the sleeping mat. Asia nodded her head and readily went for his bed and IED to sleep, but as she saw Naruto packing, a peaceful smile stretched across her face. I do really feel safe when I am around Naruto, she thought to herself as she closed her eyes to sleep. Next day, Asia slowly opened her eyes as the rays of morning light beamed down upon her face. She looked around for Naruto but she couldn't find her fellow blonde. She nearly cried, but then her eyes fell on a letter with her name on top, indicating that the latter is for her. She picked it up and began to read. Dear Asia, I'm truly sorry. I left in the early morning in a hurry, but remember this, I will see back as soon as possible, and if you'd like to contact me, call me at any time, okay? Have a great day. Naruto. P.S. Be sure to give Arale a tour of the school. I don't want her getting lost. Chapter 3. Chapter 3. Today looked like a great day in the city of Kuo. Blue skies illuminated full green trees and the air smelled fresh. However, the weather wasn't the only reason why today looked like a great day. Today also looked like a great day because today was Arale's very first day of school. Arale walked down the street with Asia on the way Kuo Academy. She seemed blindingly happy, but the blonde nun next to her felt slightly upset because Naruto had left home without talking to her, but the fact that she had made another friend did much to quell her upset feelings. Hey Asia, is this school as fun? An excited Arale asked. Asia didn't understand her question, but she still replied with a nod. Yes, this school is fun. You can make lot of friends and play with them. As soon as Arale heard the word, play, her eyes started to sparkle. Play with them? Yes, I am gonna play a lot. Somewhere else. Naruto walked down the roads of Kyoto and he saw a few children playing in a nearby park. He then sneezed. However, in that sneeze he remembered something crucial he should have told Asia. Crap, I forgot to tell Asia not to say the word, play, around Arale. When she's in the playing mood, she gets a lot more brutal than her innocent demeanor suggests. He shivered as he remembered the last time he had to play with her. Well, I can't do anything, but hope Sasuke can handle it. He's probably gonna kick my ass harder than he threatened last time. Hell, he may even kill me. Naruto chuckled as he continued his stroll with Sasuke. Sasuke was still angry about last night when Naruto told him everything, but he controlled himself enough to put it aside. especially considering the fact that he had no time to feel angry when he saw Areli with Asia. He immediately started to sweat. That useless little loser. Why didn't he tell me about Areli? If I survive this, the next time I see him, he's dead. Sasuke's train of thought crashed as he suddenly felt pain in his gut. It felt like someone had shot a cannonball right at his stomach. Sasuke. Everyone in campus stood in shock. The school's idol, the prince of Kuo Academy, got knocked unconscious by a girl a third his age and half his height. The girl on campus were furious at Areli for getting close enough to touch him. All the boys were angry at Sasuke because as soon as they saw a new hot chick, she ended up following Sasuke. When Areli called out for Sasuke, everyone stopped thinking for a second. Wake up, big brother. Wake up, wake up. All boys and girls except Asia gave a sigh of relief when they heard Areli call Sasuke her brother. Sasuke awoke with stomach pain similar to what Naruto felt when Areli met Asia last night. Why does she always do this? Sasuke thought, but then he felt someone sitting on top of him as he opened his eyes. He stared at a happy-faced Areli. He quickly grabbed her, moved her to a different direction and he got up. Sasuke dusted himself off and then looked angrily at Areli. Why do you always crash into me like that? I've told you around 1,000 times not to run at me like a missile. Seeing Sasuke get angry, Areli's eyes started to water. Shori big B brother. Seeing Areli's eyes watering caught Sasuke off guard a bit but he regained his composure. Look Areli, you shouldn't cry just because Areli's cheeks turned red, her lower lip began to quiver, and sniffles started to escape her. Sasuke, desperate to avoid looking like an asshole in the middle of school, pulled out his trump card. Areli, if you don't cry, I will treat you to ice cream. The moment he said, ice cream, Areli stopped herself from crying. Can I eat as much I want? Sasuke gave her a strained look, indicating no. Areli turned on the waterworks again, but Sasuke quickly acquiesced. Okay, you can eat as much as you want, but only after school. Areli started to jump in excitement as she was going to eat as much ice cream as she wanted. Sasuke looked away, but still smiled a bit. Asia also saw the interaction between them and smiled a bit. How nice it is to have siblings. Areli, quiet down. Let's go to the principal's office, we need to enroll you as a transfer student. Sasuke started to walk towards principal's office with Areli and Asia in tow. As they reached the principal's office, Sasuke stopped. Seeing him stop, both Asia and Areli stopped as well. Areli, give me all the documents Naruto gave to you. Areli took the documents from her bag and handed to Sasuke. Sasuke took the documents and reached to open the door but before he opened the door and signaled Areli to come with him. But she refused. Big brother told me, never leave her alone. Stay with her together all the time. So I will not leave her alone. Areli said firmly. Seeing this, Sasuke sighed and also signaled Asia to come with them. Sasuke knocked on the door. Come in. The trio entered the principal's office. As they entered they saw the principal seated in an elegant pose. She had long black hair reaching the middle of her back. She wore a black business suit. When she saw Sasuke, she told him to come inside. When the trio walked inside, Sasuke was the first one to speak. Miss Carria, these are Areli's papers. Everything you need to know about her is in those documents. Miss Carria took the documents and looked them over. Well Sasuke, last night I also got a call from the board. They told me everything I need to know, so she's been accepted in the school as a transfer student and Areli, you will get your uniform from the student council. This is your class program. Areli took the paper presented. All three of them thanked her and took their leave. As they came out of office, Sasuke looked at Areli. Let's go, Areli. We need to go to the student council. Well Sasuke, if you don't mind, I will take her to student council room so can we go? Sasuke stared at both of them for a few seconds but ultimately sighed. Okay, but you're going to have to show her around school, spoke Sasuke. Asia nodded her head and both of them started to walk in opposite directions. Sasuke watched them walk towards the student council room but then he felt a familiar energy. As he looked towards the source of the energy, he saw a black cat. He started to walk into an isolated part of the school, but the cat also followed him. As Sasuke reached an empty hallway, he stopped. You can come out now. Yoruichi. As he finished speaking, the black cat morphed into the all-familiar dark-skinned beauty. Hello Sasuke. Why did you call me here? I want you to keep an eye on Rias, and if you see her and her peerage anything doing funny, I want you to inform me. Is that okay? Yoruichi nodded her head and started to walk but stopped. Sasuke, I also want to ask you something. Sasuke also stops and looked towards Yoruichi. Why are you doing this? What she did was her choice and Naruto is doing okay, isn't he? Sasuke turned back to Yoruichi, suddenly angry. Doing okay. Doing okay. That bitch wanted to give that mutt. Who only looks at women for their bodies, her virginity. He heard it with his own ears and saw it with his own eyes, and you're telling me he's doing okay. Sasuke had never gotten furious in front of her, so seeing Sasuke angry came as a shock to her. Sasuke turned away and took several deep breaths. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off like that. Tell me why you're so upset and we'll call it even. Naruto is not doing okay, and for anyone to imply that he's not upset just makes me violently angry, because he may look fine on the outside, but on the inside is an entirely different story. He'll never admit this to anyone but me, but Naruto, he couldn't feel more alone. How can you tell? We're like brothers, Sasuke said before, turning to walk in a different direction. Yoruichi looked down at the ground in thought before turning to the Uchiha's back. You were wrong about one thing, Sasuke. And what that might be? Naruto may feel alone, but he can never be alone. What do you mean? As long as he has family like you and the leaders, he can never truly be alone in this world. With that, Yoruichi vanished in a flash. Sasuke looks towards the floor. She only said 2 sentences, yet they struck a deep chord. Inside of him, with Arale and Asia, both of the girls walked towards the student council room, but they were confronted by Issei, who was looking for Asia, as she was called by Rias for a meeting. Hello, Asia. Hello, Mr. Hyodo. Issei didn't see himself getting used to her use of honorifics when around him, but didn't complain. When he saw Arale, his eyes glowed with that familiar perverted glint. Now, naive as Arale may seem, she liked when someone stared at her body with lustful eyes. As a matter of fact, she had destroyed the eyes of many males for staring at her like that. But before she could do anything, she felt a hand on her shoulder. To her relief, the hand belonged to Sasuke. What happened? Arale, why are you standing here? Oh, nothing, big brother. This guy was greeting us, so we stopped. Well, if you're done here, then be on your way. Quote. Both of them nodded and walked off past Issei, who stood still, shocked at the revelation of Arale and Sasuke Uchiha as siblings. Before Issei could follow them, Sasuke stopped him. Listen Issei, you can sniff the skirts of other girls, I don't care. But if you try anything with Arale, I'll kill you where you stand. Am I understood? Spoke with pure venom in his voice. Issei got so scared of him, he almost wet his pants and ran off to the occult research club, completely forgetting about the reason he intercepted the 2 girls for. Occult research club room. Issei entered the club room with a scared face, but as soon as he saw Rias, he remembered the events of last night. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to proceed any further because some other chick interrupted them, but today he was thinking to continue where they left off. Unfortunately for him, the entire club was there as well. When everyone saw that Issei came alone with a frightened look, they looked confused. Issei, where is Asia? The queen of sadists asked. Issei looked at Asia in horrified shock. I forgot to tell Asia that she was called by the president. No, Rias, understanding the facial expression of Issei, sighed. She expected way too much from him, yet again. But then, the door opened and they saw Asia came inside, but to their surprise, she had brought someone with her. As both of them entered, they saw a purple-haired girl in the school uniform and with a figure comparable with Asia herself. Hello everyone, she is Arale. She came in Kuo last night and she is also our newest transfer student. She's a 2nd year and she is also Naruto's little sister. Everyone looked shocked, but none more so than Rias. Naruto's little sister, but he never told me about her. Issei was too shocked to even speak. First, he thought she was Sasuke's sister. But now he found out she is also Naruto's sister. He shook his head and turned to Asia. Asia, but I heard her also call Sasuke, big brother. Well, that's true, she's like a surrogate sister to both of them. Oh then, okay I guess. With that bit of confusion cleared up, Issei backed down. However, Areli still felt anger as she felt Issei's eyes still on her. Her desire to crush his eyes nearly overwhelmed her. But before she could do anything, Asia introduced her club to her. Well Areli, this is my club and these are all friends of Naruto. Areli smiled at that. I know them. That surprised them a bit. How? We never meet before, Rias asked, confused. When Naruto comes home sometimes he shows me a picture of everyone. Okay, then, Rias said as she understood that Naruto's granny might know about her as well. He is Kiba. She is Kaneko, Akeno and Rias. Areli pointed out gleefully. Rias gave a smile to Areli, who also smiled, but then Rias remembered why she wanted everyone in Orc in attendance. Areli, will you please excuse us for some time? We need to talk about club activities. No, Areli said simply. Why? Rias asked, confused. Big brother told me to never leave her on her own until he comes back from Kyoto. What do you mean by that? Rias asked, shocked. Areli tilted her head in confusion. What? When did he go to Kyoto? Today morning. Rias grew a bit miffed. He left, without telling me. But he said he will come back as soon as possible. Asia spoke. Rias turned to Asia, frowning deeply. So you knew that he was going to Kyoto? Asia nodded her head in approval. So you knew he was going to Kyoto, and you didn't tell me? Rias yelled furiously. I thought he might have told you last night after your date. Asia replied, scared and confused. What date? I haven't seen Naruto since last week. Kiba and Kaneko looked at Rias in shock, but none more so than Asia. She then understood why Naruto came home soaked last night, looking so heartbroken. Kiba saw this and understood that something horribly wrong had happened between Naruto and Rias last night. Kiba saved Asia from more prodding by the president. President, sorry to interrupt and no offense to Naruto. But we have more important things than his whereabouts to discuss. Rias got calmer but still held an angry expression and looked towards Asia. You can go for now, but I need to talk to you about this later. Is that clear? Asia nodded her head and walked out with Areli, who still looked confused. After they left, a magic circle appeared in the middle of the room. A bright red column of light shone and a beautiful silver-haired woman came walking out of the circle, wearing a maid outfit. Introducing Graphia Lucifuge, strongest women of the underworld and wife to Lucifer. As she appeared, everyone except Rias bowed to her. Mistress, Lucifer-sama is truly upset about last night. Graphia spoke in a disappointed tone. If he truly cared about me, he should have stopped this contract beforehand. Be that as it may, sleeping with someone else is not an option, let alone an acceptable one. Both Kiba and Kaneko were shocked and confused. What do you mean? Kiba spoke, before quickly bowing his head. I am sorry to interrupt, but can you please explain to us what happened? Before Graphia could say anything else, another bright light sun and an orange teleportation symbol appeared. A pillar of fire hit the ceiling and a man walked out of the flame. He wore a maroon blazer and pants and a white shirt underneath his blazer. He had blonde hair. It's been a while I visited the human world. It's just as disgusting as ever. Though, I suppose there's some good that comes with visiting this waste of a world. The man oiled as he turned to the president. My darling Rias Grimori, have you missed me? Who is this guy? Issei asked. This man is Riser Phoenix, a pure-blooded high-class devil, as well as the heir to the Phoenix clan. Replied Graphia. Phoenix clan. He's also the fiancé of the Grimori clan's heiress. The heiress of the Grimori clan, but that would mean. Indeed, he is Rias' fiancé. Clarified Graphia. Fiancé. After the shocking realization, Riser walked and sat on the couch with Rias. Her queen came with tea and offered it to Riser. He took a sip and exhaled in delight. The tea Rias' queen makes is as delectable as always. She did well when she made you her queen. The pleasure is all mine. As he was sat with Rias, he also played with her hairs and ran his fingers across her thighs. Internally burning with disgust, Rias quickly stood up. Riser, how many times must I say this? I won't marry you, not even if you offered me the entire underworld. Riser simply chuckled and wrapped an arm around Rias' waist. How many times must I say this? Rias, my dear, you don't have a choice in the matter. Rias glared daggers at him, but Riser kept his damning smirk on his face. Their aura began to dance against each other. Stop, Graphia commanded, and both of them separate themselves instantly. That's the strongest queen for you, you really scared me there. Riser spoke, slightly intimidated. Lord Searsex H. has ordered me to conduct this meeting in a peaceful manner, and if the mistress is still opposed to the contract, he announced only one possible solution. And what is that? Asks Rias. The rating games. The rating games, Issei muttered. The winner of this game shall have anything they desire, no strings attached. Announced Graphia. I have played many of these games and won them, while Rias doesn't have any experience. Well, it doesn't matter. Unfair to you as it may seem, I will win this game and make you mine. Riser oiled. Except for the fact that you won't, because I'm going to win. More importantly, my love already belongs to someone else, Rias declared, causing Riser to frown. As that's so, well, who is this, someone else? Is he here? Riser asked. No, he's out doing some work. Is he human? Yes. Then I will beat you first and pop your cherry right in front of his eyes before I pummel and delete this champion of yours. This set Rias off. She had no problem with people badmouthing her and her peerage. But no one talked to her about the boy she loved and got away with it. Graphia, seeing Rias' intent, stood in her way. Stand down, mistress. You are not allowed to fight him here. Graphia ordered. But he tried to threaten me. You can punish him all you want, mistress, but only at the rating games. Rias, just for curiosity, are they your entire peerage? There is still one member out doing her work. It doesn't matter. I have an entire set of 15. Another magic circle appeared. Purple and pink flower petals burst, and out from the circle walked 15 attractive women. Each wearing maid outfits with blank expressions on their faces. Well, what do you think, Rias, my dear? Are they not beautiful? Though, if it makes you feel any better, in my eyes, none of them could hold a candle to you. 15 pretty girls. I can't believe it. I've found someone I could hate more than Naruto. Issei growled. While I understand the jealousy of reanimated mortals, your mutt seems especially displeased with me. His dream is to become the harem king someday. How gross. Revel, Riser's bishop, said, along with her little sister. Now I see, Ubeluna. She walked in front of Riser. He grabbed her face and smashed his lips against hers, shoving his tongue down her throat, while she displayed no signs of struggling. A small blush crept upon Ubeluna's cheeks as they separated. Riser turned to Issei victoriously. A low-level devil boy like you will never be able to do this with anyone. Riser sneered. Shut your mouth, shitstain. With that many girls, you have no right to go after the president. Watch your tongue, you impudent slave. Without another thought, Issei lunged for Riser, but ended up flying into a table, destroying it in process. Rise. R walked in front of him and bent to mock Issei, who summoned his boosted gear. When he did, Riser saw something that made him pale in the face. Riser backed off in fear and started to walk towards his peerage. We're done here. But my lord, he badmouthed you. He should be punished. But when Revel looked at him, she saw the same look in his eyes from 3 years ago. She discerned that either he saw the same person who almost killed him to get this much scared, or this kid's sacred gear reminded Riser of him. Yes, my lord. Revel then ordered his entire peerage to teleport, and without further delay, they vanished with teleportation. This caused many questioning look in the occupants, but Issei on other hand got his ego boosted. He was scared of me. Riser Phoenix, a high-ranking devil and a clan heir, was scared of me and my gear. If I can scare someone like that, Naruto won't stand a chance. Rias, on the other hand, smiled in relief that Issei's sacred gear was good enough to scare Riser. Perhaps she could use that gear in the rating games and beat Riser. The remaining occupants looked confused. How often do you see a clan heir retreat from a lower-level devil? But then Rias remembered something and walked towards Issei, but as she reached him, she ignored him and grabbed the photo lying on the ground. Surprisingly enough, it took no damage. Rias hugged it like a lifeline, humming in content. Seeing this, Graphia looked more confused than anyone else. Mistress, who is this person if I may ask? He is the man I love the most. Then why you were trying to have intercourse with him? Graphia asked, pointing to Issei. What? Kiba and Kaneko stood in shock and, for the former, outrage. She didn't go on a date with Naruto, she wanted to knock boots with the mutt. I can't believe it. Why would the president abandon Naruto? Doesn't she care about him at all? President, you tried to sleep with Issei last night, just to get out of that damn contract. Kiba asked, turning to Rias. Rias simply nodded her head. It's official, President, you're an idiot, Kiba growled. Watch your mouth, Kiba, or else. Akeno tried to threaten him. Or else what? You'll kick me out, call me a rogue. Hunt me down, and kill me. Kiba, please calm down. The whole room went silent. Kaneko turned to Rias. President, the day that Naruto saved you from being molested by the creep. What did you swear to yourself? Rias looked at Kaneko in confusion, then her eyes went wide. I swear upon my name as a Grimoire, that the one person I love above all others, shall have all of me, body and soul. Rias' eyes started to water as she realized what she had done to Naruto. Why do you even care about that jackass? The president wanted to sleep with me because I am better than him. I have the sacred gear of the Red Dragon Emperor which can kill even the gods themselves. He doesn't have any power whatsoever. That makes me a far better match for her. What good is that power if you can't control it, mutt? Quote, you wanna fight, punk. Issei spoke, summoning his sacred gear. Bring it, Kiba replied, summoning his sacred gear. Enough. A giant wave of authoritative bloodlust sent them both to their knees. Restrain yourselves, both of you. The rating games will be held in 10 days, so you should not fight with each other. Kiba, I understand your anger, but under no circumstances are you allowed to badmouth your king. But, enough. You will receive proper punishment after the rating games which will be held in 10 days from now on. Also mistress, may I see the photo of that man? Why? Because it is my duty to find the person who is responsible for all this. He's done nothing wrong, he doesn't need to be involved. You need tell him about yourself, and our world. Whether or not you want to reveal why you wanted to sleep with your pawn is up to you. However, do you really think, with what you know now, that you can play this off like nothing has happened? With that, Graphia left with Naruto's picture using the same magic circle she came in. All the remaining occupants, save for Issei, felt depressed. Kiba couldn't have left quicker. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.